Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. I'm your host, Rico Muhammad. My co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow, will be joining us shortly. Tonight, we have a special guest. We're kind of veering off. We're going a step back into time almost a little bit. We're going to have the American Trucking Historical Society. Leanne, she will be on with us, giving us some information about them and their upcoming convention. But before we get into that, I need a couple of little pieces of housekeeping. If you'd like to participate or if you got a question that you would like to ask, you can type it down into the chat feature. We'll see it and we'll make sure that we try to involve you and wrap you into the show. As well, please like, share, and subscribe. If anything that we talk about tonight, if you can find any of this information helpful, you entertaining, or you know someone else that may benefit from it, by all means, please like, share, and subscribe to the show. It helps us get the show out to a broader audience, helps puts us in the YouTube and Facebook algorithms and all that good stuff. So we need your assistance and help with doing that. And with that being said, I'm going to welcome my co-host to the show real quickly. Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
We're doing great, Rico. You know what? Summer is here up in Canada. It's about 73 degrees outside, and winter is behind us. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited for tonight's show. I think that it's really important for everybody in the industry to know where we came from. And the American Truck Historical Society, which I am a member, they don't just do things about old trucks and showcase them and things like that. They spend a lot of time talking about the history of trucking, which I'm a firm believer, pretty hard to chart your future if you don't know your past. So with no further ado, let's welcome.
Before we bring her on, I've just reached up and grabbed a little something off of the press, something that I want to make sure that our listeners are aware of. There are some scammers that are using Love's name and maintenance program to steal from carriers. They may be also doing it under the names of other maintenance shops as well. What is happening with this particular scam that has come to our attention is that scammers are seeing which trucks are being serviced at Love's and possibly other service stations and waiting for someone to call the carrier claiming to be from Love's or whoever TA or whoever they're connected with, and saying that their shop connect system is down, and then asking the carriers for their EFS codes to pay for the services. So just a word to the wise, be aware of what's going on, what's happening out there, so that you're not being taken advantage of. This just came across. I want to make sure that we shared this on the show tonight so that no one finds themselves in this particular predicament. But it's a shame. We live in interesting times, ladies and gentlemen. Not enough people are industrious enough to get out here and want to work and do anything on their own. They rather find a little bit of an easier route and path and find it a little bit more easier to take your money versus going out here and working for themselves. So I wanted to that on. So not to bring the show, not to take us down too much, but I wanted to make sure that we shared that information.
Well, it's a pretty important public service announcement. It certainly makes me realize how things have changed in the industry, and you know what, I do long for the old days when really the worst thing that would happen is you always had the fear of obviously a crash, but certainly getting a load hijacked, which you would hear about once in the blue moon, if it was a valuable load, but nothing like today with the theft that goes on and the fraud and everything else. It's certainly it's sad because trucking is an industry that is based on trust.
Well, I'll tell you, with all this technology, I remember it was an old song back in the day. It was saying, with all this technology, who needs to steal? You don't even have to. You don't have to have a gun anymore to steal.
No, yeah. You know what? It reminds me of that line in The Godfather: "You can steal more money with a briefcase than you can a gun."
Yeah. So, with that being said, we kind of got that out of the way. Now, go ahead and introduce our guest.
Well, Leanne Reed is the convention manager for the American Truck Historical Society, and she's been very generous with her time to offer to come on the show tonight and tell us about their upcoming convention in Reno, Nevada next month, which I'm going to, and a lot of you are going to. And sounds like a lot of truckers that have antique trucks and older working trucks are going to. So with no further ado, Leanne, welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's so much fun to be here. I'm excited.
Well, we're excited. We're excited to have you, and I'm really excited to get down to Reno. Sounds like you folks have been working really hard to get this thing together.
We do. We work on this at least a year in advance. Truthfully, we contract out many years in advance. So we're working on multiple conventions at a time, but we have a wonderful committee. I have a committee of about 18 people that I work with. They help us make the strategic decisions. It's not something we make in the office. We just fulfill our members' wishes, and they represent those members. And it's so much fun. It's fun to see it all come together. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's fun to go out there and see everybody just enjoying themselves and loving old trucks and seeing all the cool trucks. There's some really cool trucks to see.
Certainly not. I was at the, I got lucky, and last year I was fortunate enough to take the time to go down to Springfield, and I was blown away by how many trucks were there. It was really impressive, and a lot of them were, actual working trucks that people worked, and others were trucks that, by the looks of it, had never probably had not hooked up to a trailer in years. They were actual museum pieces. You know, they were beautiful. And then there were some that were they were dragged out of a farmer's field somewhere.
Absolutely, we have everything, and we have everything from the early 1900s. We have awesome Model Ts that people will bring all the way up through. We'll have a current 2024 truck. There. So we have everything in between.
Before we get too far down the road, Leanne, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about the American Truck Historical Society. I mean, the name kind of sounds self-explanatory, but
It does.
For those that may or may not be familiar, give us a little bit of overview of what is it that you guys do, and a little bit of the history of the society.
So ATHS, which is what we go by, American Truck Historical Society, saying that often is a bit of a mouthful, so we shorten it to ATHS quite a bit, as you see in our website address. But we're dedicated to preserving the history of trucks and the trucking industry and its pioneers. So it was established 51 years ago. Or 52 years ago now, I guess, to do just that. To really just preserve that history. They started seeing that a lot of it was being forgotten or going away, and they wanted to make sure we didn't forget where it all came from. And so we do that through many avenues, one of them being our national convention and truck show, where we showcase, it's a visual showcase of that history, as well as some learning opportunities for that history, and just celebrating each other and people who love trucks and having that camaraderie. We also have an extensive library of historical books, manuals, sales literature. We have all sorts of really cool things in our library. I don't know if you remember the old sales brochures you would get of the trucks when they came out.
Oh, yeah.
We have tons of those, tons and tons. Like, I don't even remember how many thousands we have. We also have them for sale, so you can even buy them. We also have repair manuals that, would sit there on the mechanic's desk. We have those. We have build records for Peterbilts and various other makes and models. So if somebody's restoring a truck, they call us and we can tell them, give them paint chip colors of the original paints.
Cool. So if someone is in the hobby or they're restoring a truck, that you guys can be a sort of a resource for them as well, for if they looking for parts or need to have a part number or something maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously we don't know where all the parts are. We still ask others, but we can, maybe direct them and towards somebody who would know that if we don't have that information. Our librarian's wonderful. She has a committee she works with as well, and helps with all of those. We don't have everything. We try to answer all we can. I am not a truck historian. I'm not. That's not my passion. It's not my hobby. This is what I do for a job, and I love it.
Right.
So I don't know the answers, but I've learned a lot in the past, I guess, 6 years I've been here, and it's been wonderful. But we do try to answer all those questions. Somebody was they were restoring a Kenworth, and we were looking for specific paint chip colors from that model and year. And so we absolutely happened to have the book, the original book that had the paint chip,
Wow.
that you could choose from. So they could then go back and make it an actual real color.
Make it as accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it back to factory spec.
That's great. So can a member go into the library and photocopy? Are there photocopiers they can use to photocopy repair manuals and things like that?
Absolutely. We just charge a very nominal fee just to help us cover the cost of paper and ink and all of that. But yeah, please come to Kansas City to the home office and see us. We've got lots of model trucks. We have two big trucks. We have a traffic that actually sits inside the office. And then we have another truck that sits outside and right on the highway. You can see it when you drive by.
Wow, isn't that incredible? And so tell me something. If the members they can walk in anytime, or do they need to make appointments, or how does that work?
No appointment necessary. We're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. There's somebody usually there. We have a pretty small staff for it. We are a nonprofit. We are a 501c3. So, it's not a large call center, or it's not a huge organization.
I get that part.
We do a lot with volunteers throughout the year. So they're wonderful. If anybody's in Kansas City and wants to come volunteer and help out, we have plenty of jobs.
You guys put out a wonderful, and it's a high quality magazine, and I've been saving them since the first one that I ever got, Wheels of Time. And my only complaint is it only comes out 4 times a year. I wish to God you could make it come out every month. I would pay extra for my membership.
Well, I guarantee you I can make it come out more than 4. It comes out 6.
6, I'm sorry.
Yeah, every other month.
Every other month. But I would pay more I would triple my membership to have that come every month, because it's such great reading. And my favorite part is the trucks for sale in the back. That's my favorite, which I think a lot of us really do like.
Yes, our wonderful backlot. That's what we like.
It's fantastic.
But that is also done with mainly volunteers. They're the ones writing the stories. We have one editor who puts it all together. But really, it's done with a lot of volunteer work. This society runs on its volunteerism.
So all the writers are volunteers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people
they might get a nominal fee for writing or something, but nothing. They're not professional writers.
Right. Well, the articles are done beautifully. Mm-hmm. They really are, and they're always fascinating.
Yeah.
So a little bit about the upcoming convention. Do you want to tell listeners what date and what you know about what's still available? I know Reno's it's a touristy town.
It is a touristy town.
Casino. So I know when I booked, the hotels that you had suggested were all booked up already. So you may know of some that are still available, but also tell us about the convention, about some of the other than getting to see all sorts of beautiful restored iron. What else there is for our listeners?
Yeah, if you are coming to Reno and looking for a hotel, I was just doing it earlier. It's a very busy weekend in the city of Reno. So we're not the only show in town. We are one of the bigger ones, but we're not the only one. There's a golf tournament and there's all sorts of other things going on. Plus, it's not far from Tahoe. So if you want to run up there, it's gorgeous. But You can always go to the Reno Convention and Visitors Bureau website, the Reno CVB, and they can help you there as well with places to stay and things to do. That's what they do. That's their job. But yes, our blocks expired already for both of our hotels. So that would be what I would suggest if you're coming in. The dates are June 6th, where we start checking in and registering trucks on June 6th. We open the show to the public on June 8th. And we are full blown 8, 9, and 10 packed days, full packed days from 8 a.m. till past 8 p.m. We've got stuff going on.
That's great. And what guests? So there are lectures there, and where are the lectures being held, and what are they about?
Yes, we actually have 15 presentations and learning opportunities. Everything. We have a lot on Kenworth. If you didn't know, this is Kenworth's 100th anniversary. They are also getting an award on Friday night for being 100 years as a company.
Okay.
In the trucking industry. Yeah. So we honor companies that have been around for 50 years, 75 years, 100 years. So we actually have 2 that are getting that honorary award this year. Them and Leon Estes also are getting 100 company award.
Okay.
Amazing that a company. Yeah. So it's amazing that, companies are still around after 100 years in the trucking industry. So we like to celebrate that. So we have a lot of learning opportunities about just the history of Kenworth, going all the way from when they were founded up through present times. We have some stuff on internationals and the history of international. We have things that you can learn, air systems. So Tony Martin, who is our lead of our training committee, he's awesome and has done many webinars for us and presentations before in the past. But he's going to go over just the overview of air systems and troubleshooting, what's going on. So if you're working on a truck, exactly. So you have everything from, a history-based presentation to a practical-based presentation, and kind of things in between. So there's something for everyone. We have, like I said, we have 15 over 3 days. So you could sit there and just go to presentations all day if you wanted as well. But we do record them. So if you can't get to all of them, we will record them and have them free for our members.
Now, are the presentations staggered, or do you have some going on simultaneously?
They are staggered, so they're not at the same time. We are getting to the point where we may have to have them at the same time. We have to have them in 2 different rooms now so that they can overlap or at least abut each other, and so we can get people through. But yeah, this is the most we've ever had. We've never had this many presentations at a convention, so we're very excited that this has grown so much and people are interested. Last year, we had a presentation that had 150 people in it. So they're well attended.
I'm on your website and I'm looking around. You guys have, so I'm imagining at the convention you guys do, is that where you do the Hall of Fame inductees?
We actually don't. We do announce who will be in the Hall of Fame, but we have a special Hall of Fame induction in the fall, in October. And it's there at the home office in Kansas City.
Okay.
It just started 2 years ago on our 50th anniversary. And it's the American Trucking Industry Leader Hall of Fame. And it really, our first inductees, it's very varied, I guess I should say. It's everyone from trucking company founders to radio personality.
Yeah, I see
Dave Nemo is one of them.
Made the cut.
Yeah. So, they try to do everything around the trucking industry, not just trucking companies or those people, but the people who are really involved.
Right. So people that support the industry. So are they nominated? How does that work? Does somebody nominate them?
They there's a committee that kind of comes together and kind of thinks about who do we maybe want to have in this Hall of Fame this year, and kind of goes through a whole process. I'm not in on that process intimately, but there is parameters of what they want and what they're looking for. and they approach the companies to make sure that they're okay with that induction.
That's
And
great. And how many inductees would they have in every October?
Usually 4.
Wow. Okay.
3 to 4. So it's very small.
That's a very, very prestigious position if you're one of 4 people every year.
Yes. Yes. We only have 8 so far. So, it's growing and it's fun.
Yeah. No, I love what I love what the association does. It recognizes the industry for no other reason than what it is and where it came from, and and that's why I love I love some of the articles in there, and you get some of these old timers that recall days by where a young guy of 40 years old can't believe what went on during the 40s with trucking, and you get these old timers, there are not too many of them around that were trucking back in the 40s. And it's pretty wonderful. There was I know there's one member who just actually sold his company to a Canadian company, H.O. Wolding, who's he's one of your members, and the founder was over 100 years old, and he was going into work every day. These are Hall of Fame type people.
Oh yes, we have all sorts of members who they own the trucking company, but they're in the truck every day. Yep. That's what they want to do. They want to be in the office. They're like, let somebody else do that. I want to go drive a truck.
I get that. That's the fun part. Owning a trucking company and dealing with all of the problems you have. That's the hard part, really.
Exactly.
I have a very good friend of mine that runs a trucking company, and we talk all the time, and I mentor him. And he started up about 6 years ago or so. He started his trucking company, and I've been helping him ever since. And I'm always on his case every time he does get behind the wheel of a truck, because that's not where he should be. His company needs him at his desk, not behind the wheel of a truck. But it's a hell of a lot more fun to be behind the wheel of a truck.
Exactly.
So what I'd imagine it's pretty fascinating to see from the progression of the technology that comes in the trucks, from where trucking kind of began in its infancy, and how draconian everything was to now the almost Tesla-like trucks where you can Tesla does have a truck.
Tesla does have a truck.
Yeah. But you go from I remember the first time I seen the old trucks that had the two sticks that where you shift the gears, and I was like, man, what?
Hey Rico, I had 2 of those already. But I worked.
Yeah, it's great if you can go see. One of my favorite eras of trucks is probably the 60s and 70s. They just kind of like this in cars where they just put that extra in. Some of those trucks are amazing. They've got the hardwood flooring,
right?
And they have the tucks and the upholstery, and they're just done to the nines. It's the way they were, and so seeing some of that being restored and kept is beautiful. It's got the beautiful knobs on it. We have people who are always looking for those types of parts to make it cool. And we have every size of truck. We don't always have just the big semi truck. Right. We've got smaller tow trucks. We've got like I said, we have the from Model Ts. So we have the smaller trucks where it started as pickups, and we just have all of those in between. So not just heavy hauling trucking, but that end of the line trucking.
Do you guys also talk about the how with the trucking, how the trucking evolved, and also how the American highways, how you kind of tie all that stuff in together? How
we have had some presentations on that. We've had some, especially the trucking company presentations, kind of how that all works. PIE, we had a presentation from them on our virtual
Yes.
convention in 2020. They talked about, and it was interesting because we got to talk about, the differences between the East Coast and the West Coast. What
Right.
happened here in Kansas City was kind of where they had to make those changes. So you got to learn a lot about what, and you'll see this even at our conventions. Why are there more cab overs on the East Coast than the West Coast? Why are there more extended hoods on the West Coast than the East Coast? And so you got to learn why that is,
Right.
and how that came about. So yeah, we do. I've learned, like I said, I have learned so much just from
And there's
listening
so
to
much to
presentations.
learn, and you never stop learning. Like the history of this industry, if you think about it, it was only, now maybe it's a long time, but 1960, if I am not mistaken, was the year that PIE took the first cross-country run of freight in the United States. Now, there may have been people doing it for movers and maybe, and people hauling produce, but this was regulated freight. They were the first people to take a load of LTL freight from California to New York, because you couldn't do it. You had to have interline carriers because nobody had those licenses.
Yeah, and we don't even just have the history of trucks going on here in the U.S. It is American trucks, but American trucks are all over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we even have a presentation about trucking in Australia. So, we really, because they have Kenworth there, they have all of those American brands. So we really try to, we're global. We are dedicated to the American trucks, but we are a global association. We have lots of people coming from Canada. Finally, we're back. We've kind of gotten over that whole COVID thing where we didn't have you guys for a while. I know, thank God we have everybody back. This is their first year since 2019. We've had people come back from Australia because they can come now.
Right.
We even have, I think, a couple of guys from England.
I heard about them. I was talking to a friend of mine who you probably know, Miss Flatbed Red, and we were talking, and she said that she has friends that come from Ireland. There's quite a following of American trucks in Ireland, of all places.
Oh yeah.
And I met a man, and I'm trying to get him to come to the show in Reno. He's almost a doppelganger for me. He lives in England, and he was in trucking, and he still has antique trucks. And now this must be really difficult. He has a bunch of American-made antique trucks, some of which he actually worked all over England and the British Isles and Europe. And he had conventional R model Max. These are long trucks. And I can tell you, I've been to Europe enough times. Their cities are not made to handle an R model. And he was telling me about delivering a load in Paris, in this R model Mac. Like, I can't even imagine driving a smart car in Paris now.
and that's really the thing. Like, it's interesting to hear you guys talk about it and preserving the history, because one of the things that sets the United States apart from a lot of places in the world is our interstate highway system.
Oh yeah.
And the way that our interstate highway system is if you've traveled anywhere in the world and seen, like, especially like, a lot of people take vacation, they go to like tropical places like your Jamaicas and stuff like that. And when you go to those different countries and you see how, you see how it takes, even though the islands may not be that big, but it'll take you 6, 7, 8 hours just to go 200 miles. It's crazy.
Yeah. There was actually there was an article about the interstate highway system, if I'm not mistaken, in Wheels of Time within the last year, talking about it and how it was designed, and I think it was under Eisenhower.
Right.
And it is, I got to tell you, it's a pretty incredible system that a lot of people take for granted.
Yeah, I think that
Absolutely.
it was forced. It forced back during I believe it was the First World War. That they really kind of amplified and got behind and building because they had to get supplies all across the country and different things of that nature for the war effort. If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. It sounds like maybe we want to do some research and give us another presentation on the industry. I like that.
but yeah,
You know what? It's a pretty cool system because the odd numbers run north and south, and
right.
even numbers run east and west. It's
Yep.
brilliant, and the numbers start in California with 5, and they go all the way to the East Coast with 95. And you have fill in numbers in between. It's a brilliant system that our forefathers thought they put a lot of thought into this thing.
Yep, they did. But you'll see a lot of antique trucks going down those systems right now. heading to Reno.
All on your way to Reno. So
Yep.
what would you get? First of all, what is in Reno, which is it's almost on the West Coast. You're 300 miles from the West Coast, really. What's the furthest anybody brings these older trucks? Now, 2020 or something doesn't count, but these older trucks, and they actually drive them. Okay, not
I was trying to think of how far. I know we have some coming from West Virginia and Virginia.
Wow. And they will drive those antique trucks from West Virginia to.
Yeah. So, so I don't know if you know Keith Jones at the Keystone Trucking Museum in Virginia.
No.
Check it out. He's got a cool collection down there. He's actually bringing some trucks out. He's driving a couple and hauling a few. So
isn't that great?
We have them coming from Houston, Texas. I know they'll be driving all the way in their trucks. They drive them.
Houston's a little closer to Reno than West Virginia.
Well, actually, it's farther south, so it's a little, hit and miss. We do have some people coming from Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if they're actually
driving these old trucks from Pennsylvania. Wow,
yeah.
That is.
I remember after my first convention in Lexington, I got home and I was driving down I-70 here in Kansas City, and happened to see some trucks heading back from Lexington to the West Coast, and these antique trucks just go. And I'm like, wait a minute, those are at our show. And so it was just really cool to kind of see them going back home. But yeah, there's many who do drive them. They're like, it's fun to drive these old trucks.
Yeah, it is. My family's always busting my chops that I should get a decent car. And I said to my son the other day, we're talking, and we saw this really nice car, and I said, wow, isn't that beautiful? He said, you should buy one, Pap. And I go, no, I don't want one. I said, I'd rather have a B model Mac.
But yeah, we have everybody coming. Obviously, we'll have a lot of West Coast people. But we do have people who come every year and they bring their trucks. But if you don't have a truck or you don't want to drive your truck, do not let that ever discourage you from coming to a convention.
Right, of course.
You can always enjoy yourself, even if you haven't brought a truck out here.
Leanne, I came there last year. I had just bought I'm just started collecting old trucks, and I bought one, and I haven't bought any more because I'm trying to build a large shop on my farm to store them. And I've run into some problems, but we're now going through with it. And so I'm going to be in the market to buy more as soon as I know this shop is finished. But you know what? I think it's a great hobby. And I went last year. I did not bring my truck. I actually could have, because I bought it in Illinois. And the guy I bought it from said, why don't you drive it down to Springfield? And I said, well, it's my first time going to the show. I don't know. With my luck, I'll take this truck. I'll take it out of the shop here, and something will happen. I said, I'm just towing it home because I've waited a long time for this truck. I don't want to jinx this, but I can attest to that fact, Leanne, that you can go to that show and have a great time without bringing a truck. It's fun to bring one, I would imagine, because you're contributing to the show. You're one of the stars rather than just being in the audience.
Yeah.
So how many people are you planning on? I know we talked a little bit before we came on. How many trucks are you guys expecting to be on display at the convention?
Well, it's kind of a guessing game. It's one of those get my crystal ball out. But we have over 670 pre-registered as of today. We cut off registration and pre-registration last Friday on the 19th because we have to get everything ready and things to go. And again, we're small staff, so it takes all of us to get it to go. And but we will probably end up 850 trucks and trailers, give or take. Maybe we can reach 900. But that's trucks and trailers. So, we don't even just focus on trucks, but we'll have antique trailers.
Right.
You have to see some really cool old reefers and some old vans, curtain vans. We have livestock trailers, all of that.
Like I said, I bet it's really fascinating.
Logging trailers on the West Coast.
To be able to see all of that history right there in one place and see how it, how much it has evolved over the years, the different variations and models and configurations of all that stuff, especially with the reefers. I know that's got to be fascinating to see.
Yeah, well, that's actually probably one of the things we need to start digging in for a presentation as well as reefers. We had Tony also did a presentation on livestock trailers, which was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Just how they came about and how they're configured. And now I drive down here in Kansas City. Obviously, we have a lot of livestock trailers.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going to be like, oh, that one has cows or that one has pigs, just by the configuration of the. It was just, my kids are like, how do you know that? I learned things, but yeah, things like reefers, curtain vans, just different. How those trailers evolved is just as fascinating, I think, as how the trucks evolved and why. We had somebody talk to us about milk tankers, so we got to learn about how getting milk from the dairy to the consumer and how that happened and why the tankers are the way they are now. And so, yeah, we've learned a lot about different trucking industries, trucking history, and how that affected you as a person. So, learning about how did your hamburger get to you? Well, it had to go on a livestock trailer. How did that glass of milk or that ice cream get to you? Well, that milk had to come from the dairy and go to different places. So it had to be hauled. It had to be transported. And that's the really wonderful thing about this organization is it really preserves and tells how that happened and how that came about and why it is the way it is now.
And so many of these inventions were really, and they didn't know the term in those days, but when you think of it, by today's terminology, it would be called open source. If you were writing software, and so many of these inventions for trucking, especially, were done with really on an open source basis. And one person would invent something, and somebody else would see it, and he would have a little bit better a mousetrap, and it just kind of evolved.
Yeah, you tweak a little here and you tweak a little there, and by the after 20 years of tweaking, you end up with
it was being very broad-minded and unselfish of these people, of these people that went along. The fellow that invented ocean container shipping was a trucker and I believe he was down in Virginia by the name of McLean, and he invented the container. And what he did was he made sure that he did not get a patent on the design of how a container fits on a chassis and how it clips in. He purposely didn't patent it so that others could follow through and they could interchange. He was he was a total visionary. And
absolutely.
As so many of these people were. I had the privilege at Matt's of meeting the heir. I can't say to the Fruhoff fortune because I don't know what, but certainly to the Fruhoff name, Ruth Ann Fruhoff, whose grandfather, I think his name was Adolf Fruhoff, actually invented the semi-trailer.
Yeah.
And she didn't know anything about it because her dad died when she was very young. And she's actually an artist somewhere not far from Reno. but on the California side.
Mhm.
And she was telling me the story. She said, I was going through my dad's stuff and I realized, what the Fruhoff name was. She had no idea. And then a Mexican company, and this goes back about 10 years ago, a Mexican company started to produce Fruhoff trailers again.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of Fruhoff trailers at convention. We'll have a lot of those.
Yeah, well, they were.
Trailers.
You know what? They were a predominant trailer manufacturer during the I don't know about before, but I know for a fact during the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they were like Utility or Great Dane is now. They were a big player.
Yeah.
So Leanne, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I got a question for you, but go ahead and finish your point.
You go ahead. Ask the questions away.
Well, I was going to ask you about. I was checking on the website, and I was seeing that you guys have different chapters all across the. Looks like all across the country.
Yep.
What is it for people that are interested, that are passionate and are very enthusiastic about old trucks and things of that nature, other than going to the website, which we have linked here right below Leanne there, if you want to go check them out. But where exactly where are your chapters located, and how does one get involved?
We have chapters all over the U.S. and Canada and Australia. You can become a member of a local chapter, and it is really just that. It's the local members getting together, doing different things. Some of them have truck shows, some of them don't. Some of them do some fundraising for other organizations, some of them don't. They do what they would like in their area. We have somebody who oversees those. We have a chapter liaison here in the office that kind of helps get those started or keep them going. Our chapters are really amazing. Now at the show, we have chapters who will volunteer as a chapter to help at the convention. We have one chapter who's really focused on parking trucks. We have another chapter who's very focused on keeping the traffic flow going and kind of overseeing that. And so we have done that with our chapters, that you don't have to host the entire show. Each chapter can help out a little bit at convention and be involved that way. But our chapters really are our heart and soul. We have over 90, so there's probably one not too far from you, wherever you are. And if anybody wants to start some European chapters, let us know. We don't have any of those.
So you have none in Europe or England or Ireland?
Not that no, we don't.
Okay.
But we do have in Australia and Canada.
Yeah, no, Australia's got they've got a very healthy love for old American iron.
Oh yes, much more than I ever knew about until I started work here. I'm like, we have a chapter in Australia.
Something else that I was in that kind of caught my attention as I was going through your website as well, and I'm not sure if you can tell us much about it, or if you can. You guys have a scholarship program.
We do. We have the George Schroyer Scholarship Program. We give out 2 scholarships right now every year, $1,000 scholarships, and it's to somebody who is pursuing a job in the trucking industry, whether that be an engineering degree to work on trucks, whether that's going to trade school and becoming a mechanic, a diesel mechanic, or something like that. So, I mean, it is across the gamut. Anything you would be going to school, if you're going to go into business to run a trucking company, anything like that. And they're nominated by our members, and have to be, done that way as a member based. They don't have to be members. Their award recipients don't, but they're nominated by our members.
Well, that is
wonderful. It goes through a complete impartial third party who goes through the applications. So, no one's.
Tell me something. How many members does the society have altogether?
I think we have now right around 16,000 members.
60,000?
16,000.
16,000. Okay.
Yeah. 60. Oh my goodness. Much bigger stuff.
She was ready for a raise. You talking about 60,000?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how big our truck show would be.
And at this show in Reno, how many people would you guess you would come to the visitors to see the trucks?
Well, we have kind of two different sets of people, I guess you could say. We have what are called our convention attendees. So those who come for the whole week, get the the name badge and the lanyard and all of the fun stuff, and they're there all week. We have about almost 1,200 of those this year.
Right.
And then we get local people, so or people who just come in for the day just to see the truck show, maybe not attend all of the other events that are around it. And we'll get somewhere between, ends up being between about 5,000 and 8,000 of those, depending on, throughout the week.
Now, I would guess for those, Saturday must be just a zoo there.
Truthfully, Friday is the huge day. For some reason, that's just when everybody wants to come. So Friday is our really, really big day. Saturday morning's kind of crazy, but then we have people kind of leaving by Saturday afternoon. So it starts trickling off.
Yeah, people back to the real jobs.
Yes.
Before we got started, we was talking a little bit. You say you guys also going to have awards at the show as well. What day is the awards on, and what type of awards are you guys? What kind of hardware are you guys handing out?
Yes, our awards dinner is on Friday night. We always have it on that night. It honors all sorts of people. Like I said, we honor 100-year companies. We have a couple of those. We have our big category, I guess you could say, is our Golden Achievement Award. Those are for people who have been working in the trucking industry for 50 years or more. So they've really been dedicated to the trucking industry. That's been their livelihood. That's what they've done for their livelihood. So that's our big one. We have some Distinguished Service Awards just for special people who are that, some chapter member service awards. So if they've done extraordinary service to
I
their local chapter.
I thought maybe you guys was going to be giving out like the Pretty Truck Awards, like
that is one thing that is kind of unique about our show is we are not a judged show.
Okay.
Our members have been pretty adamant about that, and to keep it that way, our board has said we are for fun. We are for fun. We don't want people competing against each other. We just want you to bring your truck and enjoy and have a good time, and not have that stress of and not have that stress of did I get
for the camaraderie, not necessarily not the whole competitive thing, but
exactly. We want to get that camaraderie, get that sense of community and brotherhood there.
And you know what? I noticed last year, and I do notice at most of the truck shows, there's a real sense of camaraderie. And I've seen where somebody had a problem and 10 guys that have trucks are there trying to help that guy find his air leak, or someone needs a valve on an air system, and guys are rifling through their toolboxes and all sorts of stuff trying to help one of their brothers, sort of thing, and it's still there. It's not unfortunately, it's not in the trucking business any longer. We've talked about it on this show. It used to be a brotherhood out there, and it's no longer that. But certainly at these shows, it brings out that brotherhood of truck drivers.
Right, and it is actually still there, even whenever they're on the road. I've heard some stories that a member, broke down, and they knew of another member that was just down the road, and they gave them a call, and they're like, "Yeah, I can come out and help." So you get that as well with that membership. A member of an association really is that member of a larger community, and that's what we want to get across. It's not just a subscription to the magazine. It's not, just to get Wheels of Time, though. That is a great member perk. It's a wonderful member perk.
Yeah, it is. So you've held the show in Reno before, correct?
Yes, and actually twice before.
What is it? I'm just curious about Reno that makes it such a great, because I haven't been there before. I've been to Reno, but I've never been there for the truck show. So what makes Reno such a great spot as compared to other places in Nevada and California?
Well, you probably noticed when you were in Springfield, this show doesn't fit very well in very many places. It's
No,
very
you need a lot of
large.
real estate.
We have to have very specific kind of space, because not only do we need a lot of space outside, lots and lots, acres and acres, like 50 acres, tons and tons of space outside. We also need space inside. We have antique trucks that can't be outside for a week. They have to be inside. We also have all of our presentations. So we need those meeting rooms. So having that combination of space of inside and outside is a little challenging. When I first started this job, I was like, "Oh, this is." And I even talked to, I'm a member of an association of other event planners, and they look at me and are like, "You want what? You have to have what?" So it's a very unique event. It's a very unique convention, and Reno fits. It really does, because the way the Grand Sierra Resort is set up and the parking lots and how it is laid out works really well. We take over a couple of their large parking lots. We take over half of the RV park and another small parking lot. And then everything is just right there inside. So it's very compact. This is, I have to say, probably our most compact show we ever have. So walking it is completely doable if you're able-bodied. Absolutely, 100% easiest show to walk of all of ours. We are at state fairgrounds sometimes, and those can be really spread out, as you saw.
Yeah, like last year's, that was a great venue, I must say.
But it gets really spread out, because when you have 700, 800, 900, 1,000 trucks, it takes a lot of real estate to park. It just takes a lot of real estate. You just can't get around it. So Reno just fits. It's one of those, like I said, we kind of have a unique space requirement, and this fits really well within those space requirements. Next year, when we go to York, Pennsylvania, so plug for 2024. If you can't come to 2023, we'll be in York, Pennsylvania. And it also fits. It just fits the show really well. The town is very open and receiving. We don't like to go into huge, large markets because we get lost. Yeah. If we did this show in LA, no one would know about it.
No.
If we did this show,
real estate is way too expensive, and unfortunately, the state of California is very restrictive for everything. Right. They would poo-poo some of those trucks coming in because they belch smoke.
Which is also why we like Reno. It's really close to California without being in California. You don't have to go over quite as many mountain ranges to get there as you do maybe up into Oregon or Washington. We've had it up in Salem, which was beautiful. It was a wonderful place, well received. Just one less mountain range you have to go over in Reno. So it just kind of was that little, comfortable spot on the West Coast.
Yeah. If you're coming from the east, you don't have to go over Donor to get to Reno.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially for an old, you take an old truck that's a naturally aspired 200 horsepower. It's a lot of work to get out Donor Pass.
Well, it's funny you say that. In 2019, we actually did. They met on top of Donner Pass and then came down it in the old trucks.
Wow.
They came down Donner Pass in it. So coming in, there was a group of them that did. It was really interesting. In our presentation, we actually have another publication besides Wheels of Time. It's called Showtime. And if you get that, it is all about our convention. All of the trucks that come get their picture taken, and we put it in there. It's kind of like a yearbook of the trucks at convention, and then stories and things as well from what happened. And if you look at the 2019 Showtime, there's a story in there about them coming from Donner Pass.
So I'm looking at the time, and we're just about out of time, and we haven't even asked the most important question. How do people, if they're interested in getting hooked up with you guys and learning more about the organization, how do they go? Of course, go to the website, but are there any other ways that they can find out about you guys and get in contact with you?
Absolutely. Obviously, the website is probably the best source of information. You can give us a call at the office, 816-891-9900. You can also, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram if you want to follow us on there and find us. We have a huge Facebook following. There's a big group on there.
How do they find you? How do they find you on those platforms?
Just search American Truck Historical Society. You'll find the big group, and then our business page as well. There's two different pages. we have our business page, and then we have just kind of a large group of people. And, it's that community. We really, really are all about just that everybody who's passionate about the same thing.
And there's a lot of people that share that passion.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, Leanne, I want to thank you for being so gracious with your time and coming on and telling us all about the upcoming convention and show that you guys have got coming on. And once again, give us the dates and locations for that as well.
Yeah, it is June 8th through 10th in Reno, Nevada at the Grand Sierra Resort.
Cool. Must be one big resort to be able to handle all this.
It is a very big resort. There's over 2,500 rooms in that hotel.
And you know what? The one thing about Reno, it doesn't get as hot as Vegas either.
No, it's supposed to be in the 80s that week, at least so far from what I've seen. So it's going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous week. Hopefully the rain will stay away, and we'll have it.
You get into Las Vegas in June, and it's over 100 degrees quite often. Yep. That glaring desert heat.
Yeah.
That's why we like Reno. We're still kind of up in the mountains. So see, it's another plug for Reno instead of Vegas.
Yeah, no, listen. I've been to Vegas, and I've been to Reno a number of times, and I got to tell you personally, the only thing that Vegas has over Reno, obviously, is entertainment, which has gotten very expensive. And there's some incredible dining, which has also gotten very expensive. And some of my younger friends and cohorts were telling me that these bars in Vegas now, a drink is $30.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the entertainment in Reno, June 8, 9, and 10 is quite affordable. It is only $15 per person per day. And if you want to bring your kids, bring your kids. We have awesome things for them to do. 12 and under are free. So it's a very family friendly event. Come on out. Where are you going to find all of these really cool trucks for $15?
Well, you know what? I cannot wait. It's only like 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks away.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, we start parking trucks.
Well, I will be there 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Awesome. We look forward to it.
I can't wait.
Good deal. And thank you for taking time out to come and join us tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Leanne.
We appreciate it. So, Chuck, let the people know how they can get in contact with you.
Yes, if anybody needs me, you can reach out via email. My new email address is chucksnow280@outlook.com. Leave me your phone number, and I will get back to you with any problem you have, anything you need to help grow your business, anything I can do for you. It's my honor to give back to the trucking community and to the Rates and Lanes listeners. And with that, Rico, I'll let you back her in a hole for another week.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for taking time out to join us here tonight, whether you listen to us live or whether you are catching us on a rerun. Please, by all means, go check out the American Historical Trucking Society. I left the link to the website there. You can go check them out if anything interests you. Go check those guys out. If you're in the area for the show, by all means, swing by. It's pretty cool to go by and look at, see the history of the old trucks and see from where they came and where we are today. So by all means, ladies and gentlemen, please go by and check them out. And for $15, it's a hard deal to beat. And with that being said, we want you guys to stay safe out there, stay healthy, keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and God willing, we'll talk at the same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.
Catch you on the flip flop. God bless.